Hello. Welcome. Welcome to the Abundant Wellness Podcast. It is that time of the month and it is that time of the day. So I'm going to wait. It is the top of the hour, but I'm going to wait just a couple seconds more for those that might be still on their way and getting ready to join. So, good afternoon. A hearty welcome to all of you out there. Welcome to the Abundant Wellness Podcast. And thank you for joining me again today. I'm so glad to be a part of your day. And we don't get to see too much of each other, so I'm glad that you take the time to be here. I have a lot of interesting facts to share with you. And you know what? It's a minute after the top of the hour. So without any further ado, let me just go right in, dive right in. All right, I'm going to share my screen. All right, there we have it. Welcome to the Abundant Wellness Podcast. Now, the Abundant Wellness Podcast is brought to you every second and fourth Saturday of the month at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time because I am in Texas. It is brought to you by me. I am Joanne McDermott. I am a board certified functional nutrition and lifestyle practitioner and a mental health coach. So I teach people how to reverse illness or manage those that have different types of chronic illnesses. For example, diabetes, could be weight management, things like that. I help them to reverse it, manage it using diet and lifestyle modifications. And I am also tapping into, I recognize that everybody's different. Protocols are kind of really just a guideline, but then you always have to adjust because everyone's different and no two people are the same. So everybody's going to have their own plan, and making the healing more of a holistic approach. I am also tapping into your mental health and your emotional health and even your spiritual health, Bible-based spiritual, that is. So that's where the mental health coaching comes in, and that's really what I do as a nutrition and lifestyle practitioner. The information that I provide here is intended to promote overall well-being. It is not a substitute for personalized professional care. So if you are seeing a health professional, I encourage you to please go ahead and continue seeing them. Viewers are encouraged to be empowered by learning how the body functions, allowing them to take an active role in their own health goals and decisions. You see, the more you understand how your body works and the way it's supposed to operate, then, when things happen and, you're up against, sometimes even very serious decisions as to how you want to heal your body or how you want to take care of your body, it should be your decision. You know your body, you know how you feel, you know what works and what doesn't work. So you definitely should be, well, at least I believe that you should be a part of your decision, when it comes to your health care. And you should be allowed to choose, what it is that you'd like to do, So my goal here is to empower you, and I hope that I can empower you by giving you some knowledge. So here we are at the fourth Saturday of the month. So it's the last Saturday of the month of July, and I cannot believe that here we are at the end of the month. Next week we will actually start August, and I don't know, for some of you might cringe a little bit because that means we're virtually at the end of the summer. I know here in Texas, our school year begins in August, And it seems to be getting earlier and earlier. When I was growing up, school didn't start until September. And then I started to see the end of August, last week of August, and now I'm starting to see like the second week in August. But I'm excited because my youngest child graduated from high school, so now it's not going to matter to me anymore. I'm not going to be having to do the parent student thing anymore because I don't have any more kids, in school anymore. They're all in college or older, so it's kind of a bittersweet because it's making me an empty nester. But I kind of am glad to not have all of those obligations and responsibilities as I have before, and I could spend more time doing this and being with you all. All right, so our topic today is rest, energy, vitality. We are doing part 2. We did part 1 last week. I'm sorry, not last week, last time, a couple weeks ago. So I encourage you to go back and watch it, and you're able to review it there. So last week I talked about, gave some ideas, what makes us not feel energetic, what makes us not feel that vitality, what makes us feel tired all the time. I gave a couple of reasons, a couple of suggestions why. I talked about fibromyalgia. Again, you can go back and review. And I ended with rest. One of the reasons why we are not having that energy, vitality, motivation could very well be because we are not getting enough rest. We're not getting enough sleep. So how do we know how much sleep is enough sleep? And how can we know if we really are getting enough sleep or not? All right, let's take a look at that. Let's take a look at some symptoms that can very well be an indicator that we are maybe not getting enough sleep. Are you a morning person? Are you one of these people that when you wake up, you get up out of your bed and you are just ready to take on whatever the day is going to throw at you? Are you just ready to go? Or are you one of those people that feel like, no, I am just absolutely not ready to get up. I snoozed it 2 times and I'm still not ready to get up. And then you find yourself having to drag yourself out of bed in the morning. If you find yourself having to drag yourself out of bed in the mornings, then it could be an indication that you are just not getting enough sleep. You didn't sleep enough or well enough or throughout the day, throughout the night. You should be awake and ready to go the minute your eyes wake up. I mean, you still might be blinking a little bit, but you should be ready to go and not feel like you need to snooze. Do you feel that throughout the day you are irritable, you're moody, you are getting upset easily, you're feeling that you're having a low tolerance? That can also be an indication that you just didn't get enough sleep. Or throughout the day, do you have this low motivation? You're sitting there in front of your computer, you know this work that you have to put together, that report that you have to do, that the notes that you have to do, and you just feel like, I just don't feel like doing this. And you're just really, really struggling to get yourself to just get it over and done with, Somebody else might come along and say, just get it over and done with. And getting it over and done with could take maybe 5 minutes, but you're just making it drag out. A half an hour is going by, and you just cannot get yourself to do it. That's low motivation. And that can happen as a result of not getting enough rest. Are you one of these people that say, don't talk to me until I've had my coffee? There may be several of you out there that absolutely cannot function. And you're not trying to be funny. You're dead serious, and you just feel like you are not ready to face the day until you had your coffee. So what would you be like if you didn't have your coffee? Would you be like that person that I showed on the previous slide that's irritable and moody? We should not have to have our coffee to get our day started. That is, or that can be, an indication of not getting enough sleep. Or how about throughout the day, you have brain fog? You just feel like your mind or your head is in a cloud. Things are just not clear, it's not fuzzy. You have a hard time concentrating, you have a hard time focusing, you have a hard time paying attention. That happens when we don't have enough rest at night. Or do you find that in the middle of the day, you are struggling to stay awake? You just feel so sleepy. Maybe you're a student in school and you're listening to the lecture from the teacher and you are fighting that sleep, trying so hard. You should not feel tired like that in the middle of the day. When the sun's out, maybe, it's 12 o'clock in the afternoon or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you should not be feeling tired at all. Or maybe you're at work and there is a meeting that's taken place and you are struggling to stay awake as the presenter is giving their presentation. That could be a bit embarrassing. You're trying so hard to stay awake, but it is just not happening. Why is it so hard? This is not normal. You should not be tired during the time of broad daylight. That can be an indication that you are not getting enough sleep. There may be many, many of you out there that struggle with losing weight, and you find throughout the day that you're always hungry. So maybe you decided one day that, all right, I'm going to lose weight. I really want to lose this weight by the end of this month. I have these different activities, these different functions, these different places I want to go, and I want to be able to wear certain outfits. I need to make sure I fit in them well. You do the exercise, you do the reduced eating, you stay away from the foods that are fattening, and you find that after doing that for 2-3 weeks, you're not losing a single pound, or you just lose 1 pound. Do you know that as a result of not getting enough sleep, that can very well cause you to not lose weight? Or sometimes what happens is throughout the day, you would eat your meals, you eat your breakfast, but then maybe an hour or two after your breakfast, you are hungry. So maybe you eat lunch a little bit earlier and you finish that, and then maybe a half an hour later you're feeling like you're hungry again, and maybe you're questioning, why am I just ate, and I already ate 2 meals and it's not even 2 o'clock yet, and plus I've been doing all this snacking and I just feel like I need to eat again. Sometimes we just want to eat like that because we're bored, but you're thinking, no, I'm busy, I'm focused at my work. No, I don't think it's because I'm bored. Let me tell you, by not sleeping enough, that makes you just always hungry all the time. That's part of the reason why you struggle to lose weight. But even if you resisted that hunger, you can still have a hard time losing weight simply because you did not get enough to sleep. You didn't get enough sleep. And I'm just going to show you very quickly. The reason why that happens is because your body, when you are hungry, when you first get hungry, your body secretes a hormone that is called leptin. Let's see if I can point to it here. This is it's a hormone, leptin, and it's actually released or secreted by your adipose tissue or adipose fat cells. And that, I'm sorry, no, I got that backwards. It's the ghrelin. So the ghrelin is secreted, by your stomach. It goes to your brain, and it's telling your brain that, hey, I'm hungry. And so you will go and grab something to eat. And you will eat and eat, and you'll continue to eat. And then the hormone leptin that is released from your fat cells or adipose tissue, it tells your brain that, okay, we got enough food in here. You can stop eating now. And so you feel this feeling of fullness, and you decide, all right, you know what? I don't need to go back to get seconds or thirds. I'm full now. I'm good. Oh, no, I'm full. And so that happens as a result of leptin being released. When we do not get enough to sleep at night, when we don't get enough sleep at night, then that leptin starts to malfunction. So either it's not reduced, it's not released, or it's not released as much, so the production of it decreases, or what happens is our cells become leptin resistant, so the cells that kind of take in the release of that leptin to tell your brain that, okay, stop eating, it's not taking in that leptin, so it's not receiving the message. And so that is what causes you to feel like eating all the time. You just ate and you just kind of feel like you need to eat again, and you realize that, man, I'm just kind of snacking throughout the day. I don't know, I just feel hungry all the time. And it's because that leptin is not being released. So all of these things, these are just some suggestions, some ideas of possibilities that, maybe these symptoms you're experiencing, and it could be because you're not getting enough sleep. So let's take a look at how much sleep is enough sleep. Well, how can I measure it? How can I know whether I'm actually getting enough to sleep or not? Am I sleeping too much? Am I sleeping too little? How can we know? I have a chart here for you to take a look at that gives an indication of, on an average, how much sleep we should get, as adults or as children or as teens. So for the adults, it is recommended to get between 7 to 8 hours of sleep at night. Sometimes they say 7 to 9, so more the average is 7 to 8. We need that much sleep in order for us to function well, in order for us to not feel that tiredness, that fatigue, all those symptoms that I mentioned before, that always feel like snacking all the time, struggle to lose weight, not have the brain fog. We need about 7 to 8 hours of sleep, for the adult. Now for the children and teens, they need a little bit more, and especially for the little toddlers and babies, they need a lot of sleep. The newborn baby is sleeping more than he or she is awake, right? Just kind of looking at this chart here, so you can see the newborn baby, like up to 2 months, they need like 18 hours of sleep. And you can see that as the child gets older and older and older, it's a little bit less, until eventually, when we get to adulthood, we only need about 7 to 8 hours of sleep. And actually, sometimes people think that when we become the retirement age, that we don't need as much sleep. And we tend to not sleep as much anyway. We tend to struggle with sleeping, especially for the women that enter into menopause or maybe even perimenopause. We struggle with sleep. And we seem to still be okay, especially if we're retired. We don't have as much demands in our lives. But I want to emphasize and let you know that even for the older adults, even for the retirees, still you need those 7 to 8 hours of sleep. Sleep is very important. I believe I talked a little bit on the last episode why sleep is important. I'll review some of those reasons why. But I first want to go into our little circadian rhythm here. This is like a picture of a clock, right? So over here is like 12 o'clock, and then we have 6 o'clock, and then we have 3 o'clock, and then over to the left here is 9 o'clock, right? So our bodies really work in a clockwork system, or they call it the circadian rhythm. So it works in a system. Our bodies really work systematically, not only in the way in which we sleep, but even the menstrual cycle. And so we operate best when we have like routine, and because our bodies are used to a cycle and a system. So I just wanted to point out here that when we sleep, or when the nighttime comes and it starts to get dark, our bodies release a hormone, another hormone again. We talked about leptin, but this is another hormone called melatonin. And when it gets dark, our body just automatically releases that. And what's so interesting about this melatonin is that our body knows, it gets the signal to release that melatonin when it starts to get dark. So in other words, there is no light that is going through our eyes or through the retina. And when the body it takes note that there's less and less and less and less light that's just shining through or going through the eyes, a signal goes off. Oh, it's dark, it's nighttime. Let me go ahead and start releasing some melatonin. And so that's what happens. And so they're showing here that around this time of the evening, so it looks like it's about 10 o'clock, that is when the melatonin starts to get released. Now, I would dare to say it might be a little bit earlier during the winter months when it starts to get darker earlier, because this is really based on how much light is actually shining or not shining, through your eyes. So that melatonin starts to be released, and melatonin is the hormone specifically to help us to fall asleep or to make us fall asleep. And your body is releasing that melatonin all the way through, all throughout the night, keeping you asleep. So by this time, that looks like it's about 1:30. That's when you're in your deepest sleep, because it's been releasing the melatonin for quite a while now. And then it comes to be 6 a.m. Now it's starting to not be as dark. And then over here looks like it might be around 8. And it says here that the melatonin secretion stops. Or maybe that's about 7. Let me see, that's 3. Oh, okay, this isn't the actual clock, I guess. But anyway, I know they're showing around here 6 a.m. So then maybe like around 7, the melatonin stops to be released. And the reason why that is because your body is starting to detect that there's light coming in through your eyes. Okay, that's my signal that I need to turn off. Remember, when it's dark, it's a signal to turn on, and when it's light, it's a signal to turn off. And because no more melatonin is being released, you're going to start to wake up now. And so to really get the best sleep, you want to be asleep when it's dark or when it's darkest. And you want to be up and awake when it's light and bright. When it gets bright, the melatonin goes down. There is another hormone that starts to go up. It's down while you're at night, but then during the day it starts to go up. That's called cortisol, and that cortisol is very key in helping you to get throughout the day, helping you to not be fatigued, helping you to have the energy and being able to focus. I think I spoke about that the last time, but if not, we'll have to bring that up again. But sometimes when a person is not producing enough cortisol, that will definitely make them feel sluggish throughout the day. And why that doesn't, what might cause that to not happen? Because if it gets really bad, sometimes people experience something called adrenal fatigue. It's the adrenal glands that release that cortisol. And so if your adrenals get fatigued or tired because they've always have to be working, there wasn't a chance for them to rest because you're not going to sleep and resting at night. It gets fatigued, it starts to not work properly anymore. And when it's supposed to release that cortisol, it's not. And you are going to feel very tired and very much so dragging throughout the day. So we really want to make sure that we are getting that rest, and that rest is going to be the most sufficient when it is happening when it's dark. And then you're up during the day when it's bright. Now, one of the reasons why we really, really want to sleep at night and making sure we're getting that sufficient rest, it really is going to make your body function well and work properly. It's really going to help you to be in the best health, mentally, physically, emotionally, and definitely, well, and physically as well, as I just said. So now, one of the things that happens at night is your body will allow your brain to get cleaned up. Your brain has something called the lymphatic system. Our bodies has something called the lymphatic system, which kind of cleans up all the debris and the dead cells and any toxins that our white blood cells were able to get rid of and kill. And all of these dead cells and debris, it has to go somewhere. So your body cleans it out through the lymphatic system. Well, your brain has its own little cleaning out system as well, because sometimes the brain kind of has a barrier around it. They call it the blood-brain barrier that keeps stuff that's in the rest of the body from not entering around or near where the brain is. So the brain has its own lymphatic system. They call it the glymphatic system because they're the glial cells that are in there. And it just washes it off, just like you see in the picture there. I mean, there's no brushes in there, but it just really goes through this washing and cleaning and clearing up and getting rid of toxins. And your mind, your brain is working so much throughout the day, and sometimes all that hard work can cause certain byproducts. We need to get rid of it. We need to get it out. And that lymphatic cleaning system happens only one time throughout the entire day, and that is when we are resting. It does not happen during the day. It happens specifically when we are sleeping. And we want that waste to come out. I mean, just imagine trash that's in your house and it builds up. Imagine if you never threw out your trash for a whole month. It would stink because things would be starting to rot. You might have bacteria or sometimes worms or more flies. It's just yucky and dirty and disgusting. And that's why we need to clean up all the time. But even our bodies need to be cleaned, and our brain area needs to be cleaned as well. I want to show you a picture of this brain here. So let's look at the picture at the right. This is, they call this an Alzheimer's brain. So actually there's two hemispheres there. There's two sides. So the right side, it looks a little bit more cleaner, but the left side looks like it has like maybe this black tar all over it. So when and they're showing this to show that this is what an Alzheimer's brain looks like. It looks like it has all this gook on it. When they look at it under a microscope too, just getting a closer look at it, a closer view, they say that the brain of an Alzheimer's individual has a buildup of plaque on it. That plaque is called amyloid. Now, this amyloid plaque is something that just develops. It's part of the toxins, it's part of the byproducts, it's just part of the gook and grime that just kind of builds up, from your brain working so much. So that needs to get cleared away. Looking at the picture on the left there, so let's see, this circle right here, this is showing a blown up picture of a neuron, which is a nerve, which is a brain cell or a nerve cell called neurons. Brain cells are called neurons. So this is the neuron right here, the brain cell. And you see this yellow stuff that's here, that is the plaque buildup or the amyloid plaque. So if we look at the brain cell over here on the left, you don't see any yellow buildup. There's no plaque. This is the healthy brain cell. This is how we want our brain cells to look all the time. Sometimes plaque does build up, but your brain will go through that cleaning or that go through the cleaning from the glymphatic system that I just mentioned, and it only experiences that at night. So if you are not getting a good night's rest, you are putting yourself at risk of not getting that good cleaning out of your brain, and you thus put yourself at higher risk of developing Alzheimer's disease or any kind of cognition decline. So they say that wakefulness is low-level brain damage. So in other words, if you are not getting enough sleep, if you are not going to bed and getting those 7 to 8 hours of sleep, or maybe you struggle with sleep, whatever the reason is, if you are not getting those sufficient hours of sleep during the night, it is the same thing as giving yourself brain damage. But it happens slow and just a little bit at a time. It happens low and slow, but over time, this is accumulating. And those toxins and those plaques, it's going to accumulate and leading to like Alzheimer's, reduced brain cognitive decline. So while wakefulness is a low-level brain damage, while you sleep is a neurological sanitation. We want to clean our brains so that we're healthy, we're well, we feel well rested, we're able to focus, we're able to do things, and just for our own good health. And I mean, who wants to feel like they're going through brain fog, or they're feeling like they're not able to think and understand and focus as well, and feeling like we're getting pre-Alzheimer's? Who wants to feel that? Well, ensuring that we are getting good sleep is going to help that from not happening. So everybody needs a break. Students get a break. We all need a rest. The kids are on break right now from school, whether high school or middle school or even college. They get a rest. And our first responders, they work some extended shifts. Their shifts are really long, and they tend to be on call for several hours at a time. But then even after they work a long shift, or after being on call for an extended period of time, they get a break. They're told they're able to not have to go back into work for a couple of days, maybe sometimes 3 days. And so they get a break because it's understood and it's realized that the body needs rest. You could only go so long without getting that good rest. And especially when it comes to our medical providers, where they're performing procedures or measuring to see how much medication you should get, or if you should get that medication, and they're administering all of these things. We want to make sure that they're getting good rest, because we want to make sure that they have that good focus and they have that good cognitive experience, and the mistakes are going to be less likely. So they need a rest, and they really do need to pay attention and make sure that they are getting that rest so that they can do their work well and take care of these patients that they need to take care of. So we all need a rest. In fact, I would like to share with you Genesis chapter 2, verses 1 through 3. The book of Genesis talks about the creation, and when God first created the world, when it came to man, and even the animals, he created that toward the end, right? So in the beginning, he just created the environment, the stars, the moon, the sky, the sea, the atmosphere, the air, the plants and the flowers and the trees and the grass. He made everything first. And then at the very end, he made man on the 6th day, actually. And then there was one more day, right? Because in the week, there's 7 days. What did he do on the 7th day? He did no work. He rested. And the scripture says that he actually made the Sabbath for man, because he knew that man was going to need to rest. He knew that in order for him to stay well and healthy and have the energy and vitality, he was going to need that rest. And so he commands us today, and it says, as it says in Genesis chapter 2, verses 1 through 3, it says, "And on the 7th day, God ended his work which he had done, and he rested on the 7th day from all his work which he had done. Then God blessed the 7th day and sanctified it, because in it he rested from all his work which God had created and made." So he worked and he worked and he worked. First day, second day, third day, fourth, fifth, sixth, and then when the 7th day came, no work at all, he rested. Now, if God is the one that made man, and he provided for all his needs, put everything in place before man actually came, and then finally he brought man, and then rested and had man also rest, and created that routine, that schedule. Remember I was telling you how our bodies really work well on a system and on a routine, and he incorporated that routine for man, for us, for you and me on the seventh day, because he knew that we would need rest. Our bodies function best when we get that rest. Now, I know there's going to be some of you out there that's going to say, Joanne, that's easier said than done. I am trying to rest. I go to bed on time so that by the time the morning comes, I would have gotten my 7 to 8 hours of sleep, but I find myself just lying there and I cannot fall asleep. Or maybe you do fall asleep at the beginning. You go to bed maybe 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock, you go at a good time, and you fall asleep right away. You know, you're out. But then come 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the morning, it's not quite time to get up yet. And you cannot fall back asleep, and you're tossing and you're turning for an hour or 2 hours. What to do? Because you try to do the right thing, but you struggle from some insomnia. And that is a very common condition. A lot of people suffer from that. But that can be worked with. That is something that can be reversed. That is something that can be improved. It's just a matter of knowing what to do and how to do it, and just kind of learning what might be going on with you. But there is hope. We can get over insomnia. We can be healed from that. But I'm going to have to save that for the next time we get together, because we are at the end of our presentation and the end of our time right now. I'm trying to make these a little bit shorter than before. But I encourage you to stay tuned. Please follow, please subscribe, and I will be sharing some information on how to overcome that insomnia, because I want to make sure, I would like to be able to help you to get good rest and to get that good sleep so that your body is able to function optimally and you're not dragging throughout the day, because that is no fun. Thank you again for joining me for the Abundant Wellness Podcast. Again, I want to remind you that we meet the second and fourth Saturday of the month at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time here in Texas. Well, we're not meeting in Texas, but I'm just letting you know I'm in Texas. I go by the Central Standard Time. And I would like to invite you to visit my website, journeytoabundantwellness.com, or send me an email, joanne@journeytoabundantwellness.com, or send me a text, 956-365-9245. If there's anything here that I talked about that you have questions on, or it's familiar and you want to just tell me a little bit more about what's going on with you, I encourage you to reach out to me. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. Have a wonderful rest of your day.